Today is actually, hey, Mr. Airplane, be quiet. Actually, Tuesday, but once again, we are
Hi, Explorers.
Socially distanced co-teaching. So we're gonna do, Mr. Curry and I were able to get together this afternoon, so we're gonna do your lesson for tomorrow. Tomorrow will be April 29th, and we will be doing the Cumulative Part 2 review, okay? You guys took your Cumulative Part 1 assessment today, and they are fantastic. Please make sure if you did not go back in and check your grade, that you go back in and you check that, and if you do anything to it, you make sure you let us know in an email. Today's Tuesday. This morning, Mr. Curry and I both got to do our first hangout, and that was great. I did post on Schoology that I was in a hangout from about 9 to 9:45, and probably about a dozen of you came in and were able to ask questions about the test and stuff, and it was fantastic. So thank you guys for popping in for that. Hopefully you found it useful. You guys got to make some changes and stuff like that. So those of you that didn't do it, that's always an option when you see that cause help Google Hangout, that you can pop in there and ask questions, because I think it's going to be beneficial to a lot of you, and then you won't have to make corrections because you'll already know, because you'll have already been in there with me. Okay? Anything to add to that?
No, you guys did a great job on Part 1, and now we're going to do the Cumulative Part 2 review, so pay attention.
All right, I'm back at my easel. All right, so we have our Part 2 right here. You'll see we crossed some things out, we whited some things out, we covered things up with paper, so we really tried to simplify this assessment for you. So as long as you pay attention to this lesson and follow along, anything that you struggle with on there, just come back and watch the video, okay? All right, so you have a chart like this, which is the first question on the assessment. All right, so you're gonna have to fill in the blank boxes. Okay, so this box is filled in for me. This is number name, so this is the word form. Okay, so I'm gonna read this, and then I'm gonna figure out what my number would be. So 4 and, so I know right now it's 4 and 53 thousandths. So I know this is tenths, hundreds, thousandths. So 53 thousandths, I need my 53 to end up in my thousandths. So I need to put a 0 in there. So 4 and 53, and that's the thousandths place. Remember, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. There is one just like this on the test, which is why I'm doing it on the board. Okay? Expanded form. Okay, remember, you don't have to do it this way. You have lots of options. So I'm just gonna do the simple way and break it down by number. So I'm gonna say I have 4 plus, I can skip my 0. So now I have my 5, which is in my hundredth spot, and then my 3, which is in my thousandths spot, okay? So I like to keep it simple like this. I don't really like to do it this way. You can do it whichever strategy you like the best, okay? So that would be my 4 and 53 thousandths, okay? Next one. They gave me expanded form. This is how it is on the test. I'm gonna go and do the other ones. So I know that the 7 is in my tens spot. So here's my tens, and the 3 is in my ones spot. So I have 73. Now I know I'm going to decimals, so I need to put my decimal. My 4 is in my tenths spot. And now I gotta be super careful because my 5 is in my thousandths spot. So they skip the hundredths. So I need to skip the hundredths and put my 5 into the thousandths spot. So 73, 4 tenths, 5 thousandths, okay? I'm telling you guys, this is almost identical to the test. So if you struggle, please make sure you pop back to this video and check it, and really you just have to change the numbers, okay? Oh no, Mrs. Cosriff did something wrong. What'd she do wrong? Look, I need to put that over there, okay? So the 73 should have gone over here, okay? So my numeral stands for number. Okay, don't think, oh no, what does numeral mean? I don't know what that means. It just stands for number. It's just a fancy name. This is where I want to put my words, okay? So I want to be careful. So I have 73. Decimal is the word, and 405 tenths, hundreds, thousandths. And most importantly, you know Mr. Curry and I are going to be looking for that THS on the end. Okay, that was a long review problem. Sorry, go see Mr. Curry.
All right, mine's gonna be a little bit shorter. We're looking at the value of a number. Specifically in this example, it's the value of 5. I look at number 1, I underline the 5 for you guys, and I know that it's in the ones, tens, that's 5 tens. So that should be written as 50, all right? And for number 2, I look and the 5 is in the tenths place, so I'm just going to write decimal 5. And then my next one, my 5 is in my ones place, so all I have to write for that is just the number 5. And then at the bottom, my 5 is in the hundredths, THS place, so I'm just going to write decimal 0.5. And on the test, we do not want you to write it in word form. We want you to write it like this, showing the value of the number, but making sure that you are in the correct place value. All right, 50, 5 tenths, 5, and then 5 hundredths. Back over. It's a Cosgrove.
My brown marker is not very good. All right, so the next part of this is rounding. So it says round, and then it's a really long number like this, to the nearest, and then there's different spots you need to round it. So we're just gonna remind you, I even put a little note on here, underline the place value and put up the door. So remember your door strategy, okay? So if I wanna round to my whole number, remember whole number means the ones place, okay? So we're rounding to the ones place. So we're gonna underline the ones place and we're gonna put up our door. Okay, we're gonna ask ourselves, who's knocking on our back door? And the 6 is knocking on the door, and since he's a 5 or above, we're gonna give him a shove. So this would be a 48, okay? Whole number is ones place. Make sure you don't forget that. And if you don't do that right, I'm gonna know you didn't watch the video. The tenths place, I underline my tenths and I put up my door. Who's knocking on my door? It's a 3. So 4 and below, we let it go. So everything in front of the door has to come with me. So 47 and 6 tenths, everybody outside the door, bye-bye, they don't get to come in the house, okay? Hundredths, I underline my hundredths place, I put up my door. Who's knocking on my door? It's a 4, so we know we're gonna leave the 3 alone. So we keep it like this. Again, these guys don't get to come in, and there's our rounded number. Okay, you guys, when you use the door strategy, you did phenomenal in the classroom. Okay, so underline and put up the door. If you, on the assessment, if you want to rewrite this gigantic number on each thing to round it, you can, or write it on the side and underline it, okay, so that we can see the work. You'll see one of them's extra credit because it's a little bit tricky. They tried to trick you, so I made it extra credit. You don't have to worry about it if you can't do that one, okay? All right, back to Mr. Curry.
All right, guys, so we're gonna look at adding fractions and then subtracting fractions. The first thing I think to myself, 2 1/3 plus 3 2/5 is I need to find a common denominator. I'm gonna use the strategy of a quick denominator, so I'm gonna multiply 3 times 5, which gives us 15, okay? I'm gonna write it on the top and on the bottom. 5 times what is 15? That's gonna be 5 times 3. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. 2 times 3 is gonna give me 6. Now 3 times 15 will be 3 times 5. And again, whatever I do to the bottom of the fraction, I have to do to the top. 5 times 1 is 5. Now, since I found a common denominator and 15 and 15, now it's pretty easy. And I go back, my operational symbol's adding. 5 plus 6 is gonna give me 11. And then denominator stays the same. and 11 over 15 would be simplified, and that would be the final answer, and I'm gonna circle it. As we tell you guys, you show all of your work, it's important to circle your answer so that you know which one is the final choice. All right, for number 2, we're looking at subtraction. Same concept though, I'm gonna look for a common denominator. Another strategy that we're actually gonna do is looking at the bottom number, the smaller number, and can it go into the larger number? 5 can go into 10, so 10 will be my common denominator, and I'm gonna rewrite 9/10, and then I'm bringing over my 10. Now, 5 times what is 10? That's gonna be 5 times 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. 2 times 2 is 4. All right, now 9 minus 4 is gonna give us, I'm gonna write it up here, is gonna give us 5. Denominator stays the same. You can leave it like that, but we know that that actually simplifies to a half. So our final answer would just be a half. And notice we circled. Find the common denominator. You may have to use a quick denominator, or you may figure out that the smaller denominator can actually go into the larger. So that's something you guys will have to figure out on the test. But if you need help, always rewatch the video for support. All right, back over to you.
And I'll even go as far as to give you another little hint based off of what Mr. Curry just said.
Hold on. Come back.
Mr.
Curry forgot something.
Coming back.
So don't make the mistake I did, okay? Even teachers, we're human, we make mistakes. The mistake that I made is the final answer isn't just 11/15. I gotta do my large numbers, 3 plus 5, or 3 plus 2, which will be 5. So it'll be 5 and 11/15. That should be our final answer. So don't forget to add up the larger numbers on the side as well. Here there aren't any, so it's just a half. But don't make that mistake and check your work, because that's what I just did.
I'm glad he caught that, because there's big numbers on here. It's about making salad. And just so you know, number 13, like Mr. Curry just said, quick denominator is gonna work for number 13. The subtraction problem is number 16. And for that one, you can just use the bigger denominator, okay? So that's more little hints for you for the test when you take the test, okay? All right. Okay, this is my last one for you. So the question says, Dempsey is solving the problem. 18/20 minus 4/8 equals 2 over 12. Explain how you know Dempsey got the wrong answer without calculating, okay? So now I look at it and I wrote some stuff in here. You're gonna tell me what these fractions are closest to. So we did this in class. You guys did really well with it, okay? So my first fraction is 18 over 20. So right now I'm thinking to myself, well, half of 20 is 10 over 20. So that would be half, and 0 would be 0 over 20, and a whole would be 20 over 20. So 18 over 20, well, 18 is closest to 20. So the fraction 18 over 20 is closest to a whole. So you would just circle that on the test. 4/8. Well, I know that 4 is half of 8, so I know that this fraction is equal to a half, okay? And this last one, so my denominator's a 12, so a whole would be 12 over 12. 0 would be 0 over 12, and half of 12 is 6, so this would be 6 over 12. So I now know that 2 is closest to 0, so 2/12 is closest to 0. So rather than you guys having to write that all out and say, oh, I know he's wrong because this is close to a whole and this is close to a half and his answer is close to 0, and writing that all out because you guys struggled with that a little bit when we did that, now you don't have to write it out. You just have to circle what the fractions are closest to on the assessment, okay? And you'll see, again, it says here you have to explain. You're not explaining. I wrote some stuff in there, and you'll just have to circle just like I did up here in the example, okay? All right, Mr. Curry's got one more for you.
All right, guys, when looking at graphing coordinates and identifying where they are, just remember, here's our y-axis and here's our x-axis. This is the point of origin right here where the 0 is, and I'm looking at A. So remember how we write our coordinates, parenthesis, comma, the coordinates, and then end parenthesis. So for example, remember we always have to go over and then up when identifying A, specifically in this problem. So it would be 1, 2, So I'm gonna write down 1, 2, all right? Next one, B, I go over first, then up, over to 3, up to 1. So 3, 1 would be my coordinates. All right, just don't forget the strategy over and up in order to get on the elevator, right? Or in order to go up the elevator, you gotta get on it first. So over and up.
Are we good?
I think so.
So that's like a pretty, how long is that, Pepito?
15, 20.
So I know it's long, you guys, all right? We apologize, but you can watch this video Wednesday to help you with the study guide, and this video is gonna be super helpful for Thursday. So on the video for Thursday, I'll probably just tell you to go back and watch this video because we really went over the assessment, not the study guide today, okay? So this video will help you to step-by-step go through the problems. All right, you guys are working hard. I know we sound repetitive, broken records. Mr. Curry and I miss each other, so just like we miss you, we miss hanging out in our classroom together as roommates. So just wanted to check back in with you guys. Anything to add, Mr. Curry? The win's getting Mr. Curry.
No, guys, keep up the great work. We're proud of you. Contact us if you need anything. Make sure you're taking time to watch the videos that we're creating for you during this distance learning experience.
All right, see you guys. Bye.
Bye.